I, Drogo, son of Barbo, this I swear before the mother of mountains as the stars look down in witness. Shark bait, hoo-ha-ha.
Shark bait, hoo-ha. Heyo! Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, starting with the Game of Thrones. As always, I'm your host Zach, and sitting here next to me is this guy, everybody's favorite co-host, Nate.
Nate, you're a co-host as well,
Wow.
by the way. You're not just... Don't be trying to put yourself on some kind of pedestal there.
You're putting the pussy on a pedestal.
So, if you joined us last episode, I see I did what you did last time.
What I did last week.
Yeah, no, it wasn't last week. God damn it. We were reading Bran.
Bran 6.
Yeah. Well, I have a brand new notebook for this chapter here. It's fresh and clean.
It's a whole new
I know
world.
one person who was listening, and that was Julian. Because he was a little bit late, but that's okay. We're always happy to read out some other inductees, because he sent us one for that chapter. And so his inductee is obviously Rob.
Obby.
He impressed me with his maturity for the age he is. Doubtless you only meant to cut my meat is one hell of a line. Loved it in the show, by the way.
True.
He showed courage and strong will, yet admitted to Bran he was scared, making him human again. Only a kid facing his fate with all the honor he can gather. Marching with his own army south is a brave move. Taking command at 15, great. So he also had a sub-inductee, I suppose we'll call it. Osha's reaction to Hodor's penis is collector too, making her a close second. Her north of the wall wisdom, which is the main reason I let this slide in, which he already knows to be true, is gold stuff. I agree. She'll definitely, I don't know, did one of us induct her? See, so he says that hope one of us would induct her, and we did, as you saw. I closed your email, and you probably need that back open again anyway, but...
Yeah, thanks, Julian, for writing in. He also sent in an inductee for this week's chapter, but we'll get to that at the end. So, for Bran 6, Bran was watching the last of the approaching bannermen of the Starks come gather at Winterfell. The banners have been called. Robb is riding to war. And so we got a lot of sort of contemplation on that and what that means. And Bran spent some time at the Godswood, and we learned that he's been doing a lot of dreaming and thinking and talking to the gods lately. And
but not as much listening, which then Osha comes in.
Drops some knowledge.
Yeah, drops that north of the wall wisdom, as Julian put it so eloquently. And Bran maybe starts to see things in a different light, if not actually hearing things. So... I'm looking forward to Bran chapters in the future.
Yeah.
This week, we're jumping across Fucking shit, man. This episode, we are jumping across the narrow sea to Daenerys, and she is in her 6th point of view chapter.
Yeah.
And things really picked up last chapter. This is kind of a mellow aftermath.
Yeah, we got the prophecy, the stallion who mounts the world. Dany is basically carrying in her womb this... almost godlike entity to the Dothraki, this person who's
very
supposed
kingly.
to unite everyone, and
lost to Viserys.
Right, yeah, sure.
And so
Dany and Drogo, as we get into this episode's chapter, are currently trying to make more stallions who mount the world. And when they're finished, Drogo rises from their sleeping mat and towers over her, and his mouth is twisted in a little frown beneath his mustachio. And he says that the stallion who mounts the world has no need of iron chairs.
Yeah, and so we realized that we were kind of in the middle of a discussion that got interrupted by sex, and then that's being picked back up, and Dany, who...
Or they were talking about it during...
That too, you know.
We need to go west to Westeros. I apologize for that being put into everyone's ears.
Anyway... Dany also says that the prophecy said the stallion will ride to the ends of the earth. Drogo, I can't get over that. That's awful. Drogo is like, the earth ends at the Black Sea.
Yeah.
At the Poison Sea. No horse can cross that. So, sorry, sucks to suck, but not going.
Yeah, we get it later in the chapter, but yeah, the Dothraki don't trust any water that their horses can't drink, and so the Black Salt Sea, it's salt water. We know that that's a very natural thing, but the Dothraki don't trust it because their horses won't drink it.
And so they're very superstitious.
And so,
towards
yeah,
the horses.
fuck the sea. And she tells him that the free cities have ships by the 1,000. And it says that she's told him this before. So they've had this argument multiple times by this point.
Now, I really like that because she says that they can go get wooden horses with 1,000 legs that fly across the sea. And she's going to be flying across the sea, both on big boats and eventually on her dragons.
You know who ain't? Drogo.
Drogo's definitely
he
not
ain't fucking
making it.
having it.
Yeah.
We will speak no more of wooden horses and iron chairs. And he begins to get dressed. And he says, this day, I'll go to the grass and hunt, woman wife.
Woman wife.
I just like the woman wife. And so Dany just says, yes, my son and stars. And so this is when we learn that Drogo is going to take his blood riders and ride in search of hrakkar. Hrakkar. The great white lion of the plains. And so
Is this where it's happening?
this is where it's happening.
All right.
Okay.
So
one, I do have to put credit where credit's due. The Not So Silent Sisters inspired me because
to do his fucking research.
Any other mystical animal that's popped up, they've taken it upon themselves to research it and look into it, and we've loved it. And so when this popped up, I immediately was like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. And so I did so. And in doing so, I went through a ton of sites, all sorts of different things, symbolic meaning, dream interpretation, spirit animal interpretations. I read as much as I could about white lions in particular. And
hrakkar.
And hrakkar. And so, apparently, as is well known, lions, regular lions, are said to represent independence, confidence, control, fierce loyalty,
and
the power,
king of the jungle.
the power to make change, and courage. But very Lannister, obviously. So then the white lions, according to legend, are star beings who were put on the planet for a specific spiritual purpose.
Make sure we're mentioning this is our world legends. This isn't book lore.
I mean, in our world legends, shit gets even crazier because they say aliens dropped them off.
Yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff.
But yeah, no, as far as more spiritual, kind of taking it back a step, that they're said to be these spiritual messengers of the gods, and that their presence will ensure peace and prosperity for all the land, and that the white lion is considered the king of kings, a guardian presiding over a sacred site. And in spiritual terms, their coloring represents purity and enlightenment because white contains all the colors of all colors, obviously. So everything I kept reading, and I read a lot. Everything kept mentioning that line there, that King of Kings, that King o' Kings. And besides my old WWF enjoyment that I used to get into in Triple H, taking that moniker, I knew that wasn't what was tickling at my brain fruits. So I looked up the poem that I'm sure many of our readers have at least heard of. I know I had. Breaking Bad made it popularized for a bit as well. But the poem of Ozymandias. And so I looked into it and I read it. And when I read it, my jaw kind of hit the fucking floor. And so I'm going to read it now. And then we're going to discuss why my jaw hit the floor.
You reading this?
Yes, I'm reading this.
Okay.
Ozymandias by Percy Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. So, the poem of Ozymandias is obviously meant to represent hubris, the belief that making a mark, you will have an everlasting kingdom. And when I read it, with Dany being in Vastothrak, literally the land of stolen and false idols.
Yeah.
I had to think Martin put this in here intentionally, and I believe that this white lion, as described as being the King of Kings in lore, is a reflection of Ozymandias, and therefore is a reflection of Daenerys Targaryen herself. Everyone got angry in the show when Dany burned down King's Landing. I offer this right here as proof of that happening. The white lion represents Dany now, in that she will have the power to change the things around her for good or ill, and be a protector of sorts, a spiritual guardian, a Misa, a mother. And as we'll learn later on in the chapter, Drogo is successful in this hunt.
And she will eventually fall.
And she will fall, and he will even make a cloak for her, he claims, of the skin, and so her symbolically wearing this guardian, she will turn to this Ozymandias, this Vastothrak monument, if
my
you will.
empire and my kingdom, my people.
Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair, and it's that, and it keeps coming up because there's quite a few more hints, but I in my heart, in my fucking soul, I believe that Martin put this tie in there, that this white lion represents this spiritual guardian, this King of Kings, and the King of Kings tie to Ozymandias is meant to be. I know Ozymandias has been brought up before in reference to both Dany in the show and House Targaryen.
Yeah, but
books.
as you've mentioned, like, this is Martin himself placing it in as a hint that this is the character. This is what is going to become of her. So it's not as outlandish. And granted, a lot of people's issues with the show version is that they didn't get the satisfaction of seeing that descent and that madness.
Absolutely, it happened too quick.
But there were also a majority of people that say that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, people saying it was completely out of character.
In what world would
I
she?
mean. Yeah, no.
And so this, again, as you pointed out to me, and we've discussed heavily over the last few days, definitely points, or we feel is Martin pointing at her relationship to the King of Kings, to that Ozymandias.
Well, because I mean, to me, it's this the sneer of Cold Command. That's her brother. It's these different images of different parts of her life.
The fallen idols and the monuments,
the desert stretching far away. It's
both in literal and in the figurative, and so here shortly, as we're gonna see, she's gonna head through and see all these different.
So keeping Ozymandias in mind, we'll continue moving forward, because Dany believes that if Drogo is successful in hunting this hrakkar, that his joy will be so fierce that he might be willing to hear her out about hitting Westeros as like a quick, trip over. Like, let's just hit the store quick.
Just shoot over real quick.
But this is where we learn that to the Dothraki, water that a horse couldn't drink was something foul, and the heaving gray-green plains of the ocean filled them with superstitious loathing. Which is a mouthful, but I just think such a delicious fucking sentence. Drogo was bolder than most men, but not in this.
Yeah, even this man who's never lost a battle. He's got all the call bell he needs, and he's fearless, and he's like, fuck that water.
Yeah. Nope. No, I don't blame him. I don't like deep water either, Drogo. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
So after Drogo and his blood riders ride off, Dany summoned her handmaids, and she was feeling very fat and ungainly now. She's prego to the max. She's getting there.
Now, I wanted to, and not because, I don't think, she's pregnant. She deserves all the help she can get. And I'll mention it again later on, but she's, for someone who frees all the slaves and does all that, for those
she's
people,
so blind to her.
She's very demanding with her own slaves, her own handmaidens. She never refers to them as slaves herself, but man, is she just like, here, now, get this.
Yeah, no, I've made a point to write down anytime it says commands in the book. Yeah. Bran as well, he commands Osha, just because I think it's interesting to point out when these high lords and ladies are throwing their weight around. And someone who's such a liberator of slaves, Dany softens the blow by calling them her handmaids. And we'll come back to that later with some of the things Drogo says in his speech to her. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a whole interesting scenario here with Daenerys Targaryen. So it says she welcomes their help because she's feeling so fat and ungainly.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
scrubbed her and dressed her. And as Eerie is brushing out her hair, she sends Jeekwe to go find Ser Jorah Mormont, who comes at once, wearing horsehair leggings and painted vests.
He's fitting in there.
Yeah, he's dressed like a Dothraki.
Doesn't surprise me. He knows how to handle himself there.
Yeah, and he asks how he can serve her.
Basically, she just wants his help in convincing Drogo to go west.
Yeah, he means to move east after Rhaego is born to plunder lands around the Jade Sea. And Drogo... not Drogo.
Jorah.
Jorah.
Yeah. He's like, what do you expect? Like, to him,
they're nothing.
Westeros is just a bunch of buildings clinging to rock islands out in the middle of the water. The Jade Empire, Jade Sea? Jade Empire's the game on the Xbox.
That's the
from
game
like
on the
2000s.
Xbox 360,
I had a blast on that game for a long time.
I think that's BioWare.
I don't
Bethesda?
remember. Bethesda, I think you're right. Anyway. And so I'm right on board with Jorah and Drogo. Like, that definitely does seem more appealing from Drogo's point of view. And she's like, yeah, but like, I don't have a kingdom over there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's begging him, and she thinks that she'd never seen the Seven Kingdoms either. Yet she felt like she knew them from all the stories that she had heard, the ones Viserys had told her, and then things that Viserys had promised her 1,000 times that he would take her home. But he was dead now, and his promises were dead with him. And he tells her that the Dothraki do things in their own time, princess. Have patience. Don't make your brother's mistake. We will go home, I promise you. And she thinks home. And she thinks that Ser Jorah has Bear Island and an actual place to return to. But what was home to her? Stories. Names recalled like a prayer, a fading memory of a red door. Was Vaes Dothrak to be her home forever? Were the Dosh Khaleen her future? So she's having some thoughts, and it says that Ser Jorah must have sensed her sadness because he tells her that a great caravan just rode in late last night under command of Merchant Captain Bayan Votris. I'm gonna go with Votris.
which one? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
The Merchant Captain
Bayan
Votris.
Votin. I don't know how my handwriting is awful.
Votyris.
Yeah, Votiris.
Votiris. I like Votiris. Bayan Votiris.
Yeah, and Illyrio may have sent a letter. Would you like to go to the market today and see?
And she's like, yeah.
She's
I
like,
would.
fuck yeah, man. Like,
you never know what you never know what's in the Wonder Ball. So like,
right.
She's down. She's
we do learn she's been visiting quite a bit. It's not like she doesn't do it, but
yeah.
We also this is just Jorah trying to go and check and see if he has any correspondence from King's Landing, right?
I think it's a little mixture of both here. I think his this is where his sort of love for her is coming through, where like he's sensing she's sad, so he wants to entertain her. But yeah, he needs to go check and see if he's got some.
I was gonna wait until later when we get it. But do you think that what he learns from the letter from Illyrio made him use that information differently, or alter it, or withhold some? Too?
I was gonna ask the same fucking question
for the purpose of. At first, he had certain intentions, but they're like calling off the assassination, maybe. And so then he feels awful but wants to go home because he's also learning about Robert and, maybe Ned's capture.
Yeah.
And so he realizes I can go home sooner rather than later if Ned's not fucking around. And so he's like, well, then I can kind of twist this to help Drogo, like, head west, use it as motivation and fear into her. Oh, well, it was Robert Baratheon. Like, he wants you fucking dead. He wants you dead.
Yeah. I don't know, because I was gonna ask you the same fucking thing, and like I think it's a manipulation. I think he's manipulating the situation to his benefit, definitely. Like, my question mainly is like, does the letter say that it's a wine cellar? Like, she's gonna be poisoned by a wine cellar, and then he immediately goes out and finds her because he seems to just.
Because he does technically explain why he does it that way. That he didn't know how, but he knew that it was now a thing. And so when this guy is offering you wine, well, that's it. You got to
like he's I feel like he shows up out of the blue and fucking because he was completely fine having her fucking wander around eating sausages until he got there. Like, now all of a sudden he comes up for a shakedown on this wine merchant.
And it was because the hit got canceled, I would imagine.
Something. But anyway, yeah. So she tells Eerie to prepare her a litter because they're gonna head into the market, and so Jorah leaves, saying that he'll gather her cause, and so Dany says that if Drogo was coming with, she would have ridden her silver, because among the Dothraki, mothers stayed on horseback almost until the moment of birth, and so she doesn't want to seem weak. But with Drogo off hunting, it's nice to just chill back in and lie on some cushions.
You did, and I put Jorah there instead of Drogo.
Whoops. And so, yeah, she's enjoying the litter being carried. And Ser Jorah rides beside her with her handmaids and 4 young Khals. And it says, as her litter passed beneath stolen monuments, she went from sunlight to shadow and back again. Again, we get this Ozymandias imagery, these fallen idols, these stolen gods.
Now, do you think that the shadow passing, do you think that's representative of she's going to rise again? Or do you think that that's...
I think it's contrasting what's inside her, this black-white, because she flips it on and off.
Right.
She was cold and heartless with Viserys. She does it again with this wine merchant when she realizes it's this duality within her of... she's staring at these. That's it. She's staring at these idols, these monuments people have made, thinking, what am I going to do? What does my future entail? Am I just going to live here among other people's greatness, or am I going to go out and make my own type thing? And then, she's staring at these, riding into the Western market with the stallion. It's fucking goddamn it, George Martin. So she studied the faces of the dead heroes and the forgotten kings, and she wonders if the gods of burned cities could still answer prayers. And again, it's just fucking A.
Yeah, that's crazy. So she starts thinking to herself that she could make this place her home. She could live here, except for the fact that she's a dragon, and she can't stay here because she's the last dragon. And she's the seat of kings.
Yeah.
And I also like to note there, because of specifically what you're saying, kings and conquerors.
Yes.
Not just kings, but she also points out that she is from the seat of conquerors. And that the child inside her is also the seed of those kings and conquerors. Not that that really matters, as we all know. But
I thought it was interesting because, she's building it up. And there's just, it's interesting, the way he uses the wording just popped out to me because it says, she was Khaleesi with a swift man and a swift horse, or a strong man and a swift horse, and an honored, or handmaidens to serve her, warriors to keep her safe, and an honored place in the Dash Khaleen when she grew old. And in her womb grew a son who would bestride the world. That should be enough for any woman, but not for the dragon.
Right.
I mean, that...
So she almost immediately, because, she had a little bit of her dreams and stuff there where she was super badass. It's almost like she's taken on that Viserys now, where he was very much the dragon and in that way.
Well, we've already seen this drastic shift in her where she went from essentially a slave to she's the queen of the Dothraki right now. She is at the height of power. Why would you want more, essentially? I mean, I understand she's got this longing for home, but just looking at it, objectively, she improved her station more than anybody really else below her could ever hope to.
And she's got her horse that she enjoys riding. She's got Drogo.
She's free to ride and go wherever she wants. Because her and Drogo have a good relationship at this point where he's not just raping her. It's mutual. They've developed this tenderness and love for each other.
So, why does she want that? Because she feels she's entitled to it.
Because she feels she's entitled to it.
And she wants to conquer it.
Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair. She wants to leave that mark. Yeah. And she came from these conquerors, like you said, these kings and these conquerors. But they arrive at the Western market, and there's just hundreds of traders and merchants unloading goods and setting up their stalls, yet still seems small and hushed and deserted compared to the bazaars in Pentos and the other free cities. So we get the snake in the fucking grass here, explaining that the merchants are here more or less to sell and trade with each other, because the Dothraki don't really understand that sort of business. But the Dothraki let them come and go, as long as they observed the peace of the city, didn't profane the mother of mountains or the womb of the world, and honored the crones of the Dash Khaleen with the traditional gifts of salt, silver, and seed. Plant seed, you
You dirty people.
You dirty people. Get your mind out
This
of the gutters.
This is a respectable podcast.
Yes, absolutely. We do not talk about things like semen.
Semen and cunts and stuff. That's bad.
And Drogo's manhood glistening wetly. Yeah, you read that line too. We know. Anyway, the Dothraki, again, did not truly understand the business of buying and selling. It's more a barter trade system type thing. So Dany likes the strangeness of the Eastern market. Ooh.
No, yeah, that which is cool. She likes to also listen to the singing of the spell slingers there in the Eastern market. I like.
Yeah, it's got all sorts of queer sight sounds and
Now,
smells.
she also likes the different people.
The people, well, the animals first. The manticores,
yeah, you go ahead and do the man.
And the immense gray elephants and the striped black and white horses. And then, the people.
So I do like we're getting introduced to the Manticore again.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
Cersei's elephants.
And
so
then,
in the show.
But, so she runs into the people, and this is, as I had promised you, the arrival of a certain reference. So she's the dark solemn Ashai, the tall, pale Carthians, the bright-eyed men from Yeti, warrior... And so I want to hear more about these badass bitches. Warrior maids from Bayasabad, Shamariana, and my favorite, Kaya Kanaya.
Kaya Kanaya.
So even the dour and frightening shadow men, covered in tattoos from neck to arms, and faces hidden by masks. Quaith in the house! Or at least Quaith's people. And I think, or at least that's what I think, and I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I can see it.
There's
I don't know.
more. But maybe because I feel like Quaith's mask would have stood out early.
That's what I mean, the red lacquer.
And so I feel like Quaith maybe is in the higher rankings of the shadow people. The shadow men. She's a higher rank. Maybe similar to the drow in D&D, the females are the ones that are in charge. So yeah, these men are running around with their little wooden masks and their fucking tattoos. Whoop-de-doo. The real people in charge are the women, like Quaith, who are out there with the fucking starry-eyed, lacquered masks of fucking mysticism and fucking knowledge. But anyway.
Like, what the fuck even is Quaith?
Who knows what the fuck a Quaith is.
So,
but anyway.
It was a place of wonder and magic for Dany, but the Western market smelled of home.
I like that.
As she's helped from the litter, she takes a big ol' whiff, and the smells just instantly remind her of Tyrosh and Myr, bringing a fond smile to her face. And she just sees crazy activity. There's slaves carrying bolts of Myr's lace, caravan guards wandering the aisles with nothing in their scabbards because they're not allowed to have weapons, a young woman selling Lannisport gold work with a huge eunuch guarding her stall. Dany tells Jorah that
this is going to make me so hungry now that I see it again.
That she used to love playing in the bazaar as a girl, because they were so alive and full of people laughing and shouting. We seldom had coin to buy things, except for maybe a sausage now and then, or honey fingers. Do they have honey fingers in the Seven Kingdoms? And Jorah's fucking ass is like, I couldn't say. Is that a dessert?
What is
that?
You stick your finger.
Is that what I'm gonna do to you later?
Uh-huh.
Honey fingers?
Finger in a bee's nest and a what is I don't.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I won't go seek out the captain and see if he has any fucking letters for us, for me.
She's like, oh, I'll join you. That'll be fun. He's like, you stay the fuck here. I don't need your help.
I don't need your help, Mom.
God.
He actually says that there's no need to trouble yourself, princess. And he glances around impatiently. Enjoy the market. I'll rejoin you when my business is finished.
I'll enjoy you when my business is finished.
I mean, Jorah's horned up, dude.
But she notices his impatience, and she thinks about it even as he's walking away, curious.
What's curious?
What's curious?
Curious that you should choose this one. Anyway.
Yes.
Very curious. She didn't see why she should not go with him. And then she thinks perhaps he meant to find a woman after he found the captain. Some men were shy about their couplings. This is the light that passed on Dany, not the shadow. This is her naivety. Thank you.
It's a toughie.
Naivety.
There's like 14 I's and 3 E's and like an A
and
or 3.
it's like I before C except after D, E,
and then
F.
the silent W.
And then the silent T.
There's a T in native?
Yeah.
Oh, it's silent.
Native.
Naive. Look at you go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, this is just her ignorance. She's not at all suspecting foul play here, that Like,
which is,
I mean, I get it.
she's very young. She's still super young.
He's the Westerosi. And he's much smarter than her. Clearly, he's working some fucking angles here, but it's still just she sees his impatience. She's picking up on these.
He's not being subtle.
No,
about
he's
it,
not being terribly subtle
idiot.
about it, and she just, I think, gets swept away in the market, and
That's it, exactly.
and trusts him, wants to trust him.
Anyway, she basically decides, that
She shrugs. She's like, "Fuck it.
Fuck him.
Let's go, girls.
We're going to do
We're
the
gonna
market.
enjoy the market
We're going to the mall.
anyway.
We're going to the mall.
We're going shopping.
It's gonna be great. They spent the morning wandering, and Dany did make a few purchases. She got some shampoos and fucking perfumes and
Hell
stuff
yeah, she
that
did.
reminded her of home and stuff, which like. Good, that's smart. Like if you want, instead of a photograph,
She gets some sausages that she was mentioning.
I want sausages.
She buys one for her handmaidens and her
they-
cause,
and they all
which
love
like
it.
I really like that. Like that's
It's-
mentioned. Like
yeah.
she is, she's feeding these. Like she's feeding them like they're animals,
like
but
they're her
like
slaves. That's how
that's
she's.
but that's
You're
it.
treating
is-
your pets.
Like that's
and,
it. Like she's nice to her slaves at least.
Yeah, she's
and so
buying
we're
them this-
like. Martin is fucking smartly making us not care about it too. Where
without
it's
even
just like
realizing.
she's nice to them though.
Yeah, because the hand might, and they're
'Cause at least-
giggling,
yeah.
because they've never been treated.
Well, like
this.
that's it.
They've
They're
never
at least
had-
getting to enjoy the market too, but it's still this horrid
Yeah.
situation of like, yeah, they're having it better than they've ever had it before, but they're still fucking slaves. Like, Dany's treating them well, but they are still
serving her,
waiting
waiting
and
on her, hand and foot.
washing her, scrubbing her, cooking her meals, carrying her fucking litter. Like, it's brilliant writing to blind us to it, where we're like, no, she feeds them, she lets them enjoy the market.
Granted,
she's good.
I really do like them having a little eating contest. They get fucking
the cause like they're weirded out by it, but then they like it, and then they just start competing to see who can eat more. And Dany's giggling about it, having a grand old time, which is actually nice because
it's been a long time. Eerie or Jequi or whatever the other one's name is.
Yeah, Eerie is because Dany's like notices that they taste different, and she tells the woman that, and the woman's like, yeah, no, normally I make them with pork, but we out here with the Dothraki, so we doing it horse style. And Dany's like, oh, okay. But yeah, she giggles at them laughing, and then Eerie, tells her that you have not laughed since your brother died, Khaleesi. It is nice to see. Oh, well, since your brother was crowned by Khal Drogo.
Yeah,
but
which is nice.
it is good to see Khaleesi. And Dany smiles shyly and says that it was sweet to laugh again. She feels half a girl. And so the bazaar is really...
I just think, again, that's very funny how masked that is. Oh, it's good to see you smile since, your husband brutally murdered your brother.
Yeah, like
in front of you while you watched.
poured molten gold over his skull. But they wander half the morning. She ends up trading a silver medallion from her belt for a feathered cloak from the Summer Isles. She also gets some flasks of scented oil, and she only had to close her eyes and smell them, and she could picture the house with the red door.
Yeah.
She also got a fertility charm for Doria when she saw her staring at it, and then thought that she'd have to get some stuff for Eerie and Jequi too.
See, which is like, again, she's treating them like friends and everything like that, but... like matching bracelets, but like they're still her slaves.
Yeah.
So
they come upon a wine merchant offering thimble size, like, you cheap son of a bitch.
Thimble size
Like,
steak.
at least give me a Dixie cup. Like, I just, like the swish in school. You ever do swish in school?
Well, you gotta have them in your bathroom. Too,
Yeah,
the
the little
cups.
Dixie cup. Like, that's all.
That's all I need for a
And
taste.
something I can spit back into. Like, it's a
case
wine
it's-
tasting, you fucking peasant. I need to not swallow it. I sip it, let it aerate,
Have a little.
move it
class.
around the mouth, let it fluff, and then you taste it and you spit it.
You don't swallow.
You are a piss poor wine merchant, you fucking assassin. Red flag right off the bat. I would have been Dunsky. Anyway,
Did you have a career in winemaking?
they find this. No, I just really like fucking wine, bro. Like, I've been to mad orchards and doing wine tastings and shit. It's dope. And I made the mistake of like swallowing the wine at one of my first ones.
That's
and I
not
got
a mistake.
No, I
You
got
can do
fucking
it every other time.
swifty, dude. I ended up. Never mind. Anyway,
So after he offers her the drink, she replies in High Valyrian, "Sure, I'll give it a whirl."
yeah, he's speaking fluid Dothraki, which was an interesting point to note. But yeah, he's claiming to have wine from fucking everywhere. Blah, blah, blah. And he's a small man, slender and handsome. And he bows to her. A taste for the Khaleesi. And yeah, he what is it? A sweet red?
Yeah, I think so.
A sweet red from Dorne. And
We had a sweet red when we got the...
We did, yeah. It sings of plums and cherries and rich dark oak. A cask, a cup, a swallow. One taste and you'll name your child after me. And I wrote here, yeah, dead. LOL.
Holy shit, that's fucking amazing.
So Dany smiles and says, my son has a name, dead. But I will try your summer wine. And she says it in Valyrian, which feels strange to her tongue after so long.
And he's like, the fuck? Because he mistook her for Dothraki, and he tells her so, and she is then announced by her handmaiden as...
Well, he mistook her for that because she looks it. She's got the oil braided hair. She's in leathers.
She's tanned after this time.
Yeah, she's tanned as shit. Like,
she's
girl's
looking
fit
fierce.
As fuck. Yeah, like... So she looks the part, and actually, I think that's very complimentary here. Like, she could be it if she embraced it. Like, she's mistaken for Dothraki now. She's not mistaken as Targaryen. No one's recognizing her for this Targaryen. She's the Khaleesi. Like, you're are Dothraki now. Yeah, your skin isn't impairing that. Your language isn't impairing that. You forgot how to speak High Valyrian.
It feels weird to
like,
you. Like,
yeah, you're Targaryen.
You could absolutely live with them forever.
And be happy.
Ozymandias.
Yeah. It's this wanting to do things, this pushing to Westeros that gets her son killed, that gets Drogo killed. It's her own, it's the Oedipus and Ozymandias and fucking the Illithid and the Odyssey and Shakespeare and...
Sure, all right, settle down. So anyway, he bows low and says, princess. And she's still thirsty.
Yeah, because Doria steps up and does the... You have the honor of dressing Daenerys of House Targaryen, the Stormborn, and all her titles.
Princess of... yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and so Dany, she commands him, rise. I'll still take some of that summer wine. And he gets...
Fuck that shit.
That Dornish swill. Nah.
No.
I have a dry red from the arbor. Please, let me give you a cask.
The good stuff.
The good shit.
Good shit.
And Dany thinks that such a vintage will please Drogo, who has developed... a taste for good wine in the free cities. Yeah.
My man.
Drogo's drinking that high quality shit. Like, ain't no bottom shelf bullshit. Get that the fuck out.
That's what he is going to the Jade Sea for. He's going to plunder for some top quality shit.
And like, this is like the one argument I just want to make overall in this first book for Dany's arc. Dany is a bad influence on Khal Drogo.
Can I just say she's a great wife?
She's a bad influence on him.
Up for him.
Yeah, but now he's drinking a lot, and he's only drinking the finest shit. She's implementing her fucking Targaryen
so he's clearly getting
entitlement onto him, and he was perfectly fine just being this savage rating.
He was big into it before her. He's probably taught her about wine.
He liked mare's milk. And
every Dothraki
the fermented... chunky shit that fucks you up with a sip, not this wine shit. This is her influence on him. Okay. And I think that's actually, I really do think that's what that's meant to be, is that she is slowly... he picked it up in the free cities, but yeah, he's classing up a bit. He's learning...
Yeah, it's too bad he dies so soon, because it would be fun to see him interacting in
the High Lords.
Yeah, that. Like, he'd be
like him and Stannis.
Could you imagine? Fucking amazing.
Anyway, so yeah, Dany thinks that Drogo's gonna love that. So she says, "You honor me." And he says, the honor is mine. And he grabs a small cask and he points out the red wine sigil. Which, like, really? Like, fucking house red wine with the grape sigil, man. Like, with the wine.
With the poison.
Fuck you, house red wine.
Like, and fucking... you son of a bitch.
So she says, Drogo and I will share it together. And she tells Aggo to take it to the litter if he would be so kind. And the
No!
Well... The merchant
beams. Oh, yeah.
When she said, well, like...
Straight to when you're going to share
Drogo and Dany? Yeah, oh.
Well, that's what I think, obviously, but it almost makes it like he's taking the compliment.
Oh, yeah, like they're loading it up into the, like, they're taking it, yay. Yeah.
It's so subtle.
But yeah, no, we get
Jorah interrupts heavy as fuck. I'm not going to shout no again into the mic, because once is enough.
And his voice is strange and brusque. And Aggo puts down the cask and looks to Dany, who nods and asks Ser Jorah.
She didn't even know he was there.
Yeah, no, he was just...
Boom.
Yeah, suddenly.
And he's hollering at this motherfucker.
And she asks him, Ser Jorah, is something wrong? And he says, I have a thirst. Open it, wine cellar. And he says, it is for the Khaleesi, not the likes of you, sir.
Yeah, which is just, like that's typical. Even I think a regular wine seller not trying to poison would say something like that.
Yeah, so Jorah moves closer and says, if you don't open it, I'll crack it open on your head. And Dany notes that he has no weapons. Obviously, this is not no weapons, but none on him. It's a sacred city. It's forbidden, but his hands were lethal weapons enough. Might as well get those fucking registered, because...
And the guy pours a drink for Jorah without spilling a drop.
Well, yeah.
Into a thimble.
Dexterous.
And so he goes to hand it to him, and Jorah smells it.
Well, the merchant fights. He fights for a while.
Well, he doesn't want to...
He draws it out. It would be a crime to drink it without letting it breathe. Just all this bullshit that he can, too.
Oh, like the bullshit you were just spewing about?
My bullshit's correct.
Okay.
Wine tasting.
You gotta let it breathe.
Somebody's gonna fucking lay into me about all that wine, because I am talking out my ass. But anyway, Drogo reaches for his whip, and the merchant hasn't put his hammer down after he taps the cast. So Drogo starts reaching for his whip, but Dany stops him and says, "Do as Ser Jorah commands. Do as Ser Jorah says, she commands." And
she's putting on her queen voice.
Yeah, so he pours, like you said, these thimble size without spilling a drop. And Jorah lifts one and sniffs, frowning. See, Jorah's a wine man. He knows. You gotta sniff it first, rotate it around the glass a little. Well, but with a thimble, you can't fucking do it with a thimble. And the wine seller bids Jorah to taste it. See how sweet it is. And Jorah holds out the cup and says, "You taste it first." And the man...
No, it's a poor wine seller who drinks his own wares.
Dany notes that his smile is amiable, yet she could see the sheen of sweat covering his brow.
It's a hot day, man. Not all of us handles the hot as good
You
as
will
other people.
drink,
Oh.
Dany says, cold as ice. Empty the cup, or I'll tell them to hold you down while Ser Jorah pours the entire cask down your throat.
So, even if, again, it's not poisoned, that's an expensive cask to just dump out.
I mean, that's going to kill him.
That's a lot of wine.
It's waterboarding. Waterboarding. And that's that black passing into the shadow. Yeah. That immediate something's off, so she's going to go fucking... I mean, that's a little much.
So, basically, he then goes as if he
shrugs,
reaching for the drink, and he's gonna take a sip. No, gotcha! And he grabs the cask and launches that shit at Dany.
Yeah.
Who, instead of jumping in front of the cask, Jorah fucking barrels her to the fucking ground.
Yeah, this pregnant lady.
Blam! Like, dude, she's got a kid. No wonder she miscarried. You fucking railed her to the ground, you miscreant.
The cask hit Jorah in the shoulder and smashes on the ground, and Dany stumbles and loses her feet and screams, "No!" as she, not that deep, because that'd be totally terrifying.
No! Whoa!
She thrusts her hands out to break her fall because she's about to fall on her belly.
As she does, Jiqui or Doria grabs her arm and manages to swing her, kind of from...
So she lands on her legs,
lands on her
stomach.
butt, her legs, and just, thank God, because we wouldn't want anything to happen to the baby.
The traitor vaults the stall, darts between Aggo and hrakkar, and races down between the aisles, and Dany hears a sharp crack of Drogo's whip, coiling around the wine seller's leg, and he sprawls face first in the dirt.
So, ladies and gentlemen, real quick skirt, because this scene in the show where the whip is around the seller's neck, I photoshopped the other brother's face on
that was Viserys, wasn't it?
I did this one also.
Oh, did you?
Where he was running away and it was his face on this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And it was quite wonderful. But yeah, I also did the Viserys one where he had it as well.
So yeah, a dozen guards come running at this point, and with them is Merchant Captain Bayan, whatever the fuck his last name was. A Norvoshi with a blue mustachio that's swept up to his ears.
Which I like
And he seemed to know what happened without a word being spoken. And so he tells a couple of his guards to take the merchant to await the pleasure of the Khal. And he says, "His goods I gift to you as well, princess. A small token of regret that one of mine would do this thing." And so Doria and Jiqui help Dany up to her feet, the poisoned wine leaking into the dirt. And she asks, "Jorah, how did you know?" And she's trembling all over. And he says, "I did not know, Khaleesi, not until he refused to drink. But once I read Illyrio's letter, I feared.
I feared.
And his eyes sweep over the market, and he says, "Come, best not talk of it here." And, I mean, he knows better than anyone that people are always fucking listening.
Always. So, on the way back, she just does a lot of thinking to herself, and it's...
About fear.
About fear and convincing herself that she doesn't get scared. She can't get scared because she's the dragon. And then she starts, and it's obviously her talking to the baby when really it's her own fears and emotions coming out that he doesn't need to be afraid. He's a dragon, not to worry, and just, basically trying to anti-anxiety herself down, as she just had an assassination attempt on her fucking life.
The one little note I had was that also Rhaego seems to sense her nervousness because he's moving around restlessly. And so at this point, we know the little guy's still kicking, whether or not he's that weird demon thing.
Yeah, not yet.
But once home, once back to her little hut that she calls a home here, not little, but... She orders everyone to leave but Jorah and says, "Tell me, was it the usurper?" And he says yes and draws out a letter.
Yeah, it was.
"Robert Baratheon offers lands and lordships for your death or your brother's." And she says, "My brother." Her sob was half a laugh. "He does not know yet, does he? The usurper owes Drogo a lordship." This time, her laugh was half a sob. She hugged herself protectively. You said. "Oh, me, you said. Only me?" And he says, "You and the child."
And Viserys.
But fuck Viserys. And she says, "No, he cannot have my son."
Yeah.
And then she decides that she would not weep. She would not shiver with fear. The usurper has woken the dragon now. And her eyes go to the eggs. And the lamplight is making the light reflect and kind of send these motes of color drifting around. And it's all craziness. And it says, "Was it madness that seized her then, born of fear, or some strange wisdom buried in her blood?"
What the fuck does that mean? Like, are you kidding me? Because, like...
You're a Targaryen, Harry.
That's it. Like, is it just inherent that she can feel these dragons stirring, like Rhaego is stirring? Does Rhaego sense that he's going to be sacrificed to give life to these dragons? Like, is there...
Well, I mean, if we take it at what we've been told, magic is supposedly starting to return to the world, and Targaryens lived in old Valyria, lived in Volantis,
You think there's just magic in their blood?
And so if supposedly what we believe is that, Targaryens had this inherent connection to these dragons through some magic, whatever, that if magic is returning, that's what's happening here, is it's stirring up in Dany's blood. That's why she gets the immunity to fire to an extent. And that sort of stuff. It's slowly waking in her, and so she's slowly starting to get these, like, impulses
and the cool
urges.
thing is knowing, full spoiler, the comet's coming here at the end of the book. And so it's getting closer and closer and closer.
Is it the proximity of the comet?
Right, like who knows? And that's what caused them to be able to be born again.
So she's having a very out-of-body experience here, and she hears herself tell Ser Jorah to light the braziers, and he questions her, "Khaleesi," and he looks at her strangely. "It is so hot, are you certain?" And it says she had never been so certain. And she says, "Yes, I have a chill," so he does it.
Even though it's hot as balls in there.
Mm-hmm. When the coals were lit, she sends Ser Jorah from her. She had to be alone to do what she needed to do. "This is madness," she tries telling herself, lifting up the black and scarlet egg. "It will only crack and burn, and it's so beautiful. Ser Jorah will call me a fool if I ruin it." But still, she cradles the egg with both hands.
Both of them.
Cradles it like a baby.
Like a little kid. Little tiny child.
And carries it to the fire and pushes it down deep amongst the burning coals. And the black scales seem to glow as they drink the heat. And Dany grabs the other two and places them beside the black one in the fire. And she watches until the coals turn to ash.
See, I don't think that that's inaccurate either, that they drink the heat.
Oh, yeah.
And that this just isn't nearly large enough and quenching enough for these eggs to
brazier.
Get it. So they need a big funeral pyre.
Yeah, it's a brazier. Like, this ain't heat in them.
Especially 3 of them.
Yeah, so there's this heat that's shimmering around the eggs. They're holding this heat in and sort of not repelling it, but releasing a little bit of it. And that was all. And she thinks your brother Rhaegar was the last dragon, Ser Jorah had said. And she's just gazing at her eggs sadly. And she thinks, what had she expected? They were once alive 1,000 years ago, but now they are only pretty stones.
So let me tell you what I wrote for my notes for that section now. She sends Jorah away and carries the eggs into the fire. Nothing happens. Drogo returns. That's it. That's all my notes. Did you have more to go on with that?
Oh,
yeah. No, I had nothing to say about it. I thought they were cool in the blood drinking line, but nothing happened.
Oh, I've got more here.
Go for it.
So yeah, she says, but now they are only pretty rocks. They could not make a dragon. Our dragon was air and fire, living flesh, not dead stone. Have you ever heard of the theory that there is a dragon at Dragonstone?
I've heard a lot of theories about
Made of
Dragonstone, and that the dragons that are on like the ramparts were dragons that have turned to stone, and there's a dragon. Yeah, I've heard those theories. You think that's a nod to that, or a potential?
A dragon was air and fire, living flesh, not dead stone. So maybe the dragons on Dragonstone aren't the dragons that will be fighting for the living?
Right.
But they are the dead stone dragons who will be maybe fighting for the dead?
Maybe. That'd be wild. Stone dragons? That'd be crazy.
Just with Dragonstone is the only place I could think of that I recall hearing of like dragons made of stone.
Yeah.
So that was immediately what I thought.
Maybe
but yeah,
otherwise,
that was pretty much the only interesting tidbit.
The smoky bits there, Valyria, when they go through the water and shit? Aren't there gargoyles and aren't there like gargoyles and shit in the fog out in the distance that they can see on buildings or some shit?
Like the stone men fucking perch all over,
like
but
the dead stone and stone men.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. I'm just.
But yeah, the brazier was cold again by the time Drogo returns, and Kaholo was leading a pack horse behind him, the carcass of a great white lion slung across its back.
King of Kings has fallen.
So I've got quite a bit to say, but I just want to quote these bits here. It goes on to say, above the stars were coming out. Mark that. Drogo dismounts laughing, showing her the scars where the lion raked him through his leggings. I shall make you a cloak of its skin, moon of my life, he says. So, first thing I want to note is the death of the lion here is foreshadowing the death of Dany's good nature, the death of her being this goodly sort of conduit of good. And all we know from the Dothraki that all events of significance happen under the stars. And so the stars are coming out as this lion is being presented to her, this spiritual and creature of goodness.
And this speech that he makes, too.
Yeah, and just to tie it back to the Ozymandias, it's a symbol of death. It's this lifeless thing, this
carcass.
It's a carcass. It's a monument of sorts. It's a tribute to Drogo's kill, and
that's his legacy.
But it goes on that when Dany told him what happened at the market, all the laughing stopped, and Jorah warns him that this man won't be the last to attempt it, and that the seller of poisons. Drogo goes on to say the seller of poisons ran from Moon of my life, when he should be running after her, and so he will. And then he continues on, Drogo, Jorah the Andal, choose any horse you wish for my herds, it is yours. Any horse save my red and the silver of the moon of my life. And then he goes on and makes the biggest proclamation and gift.
Oh, am I reading this?
Yeah, do it up.
And to Rhaego, son of Drogo, the stallion who will mount the world, to him I also pledge a gift. To him I will give this iron chair his mother's father sat in. I will give him 7 kingdoms. I, Drogo, Khal, will do this thing.
His voice rose. I'm not going to raise my voice any louder
because,
I do have neighbors.
I will take my Khalizar west to where the world ends and ride the wooden horses across the black salt water as no Khal has done before. I will kill the men in the iron suits and tear down their stone houses. I will rape their women, take their children as slaves, and bring their broken gods back to Vaes Dothrak, to bow down beneath the mother of mountains. This I vow, I, Drogo, son of Barbo, this I swear, before the mother of mountains as the stars look down in witness. Shark bait, hoo-ha-ha.
Shark bait, hoo-ha.
So we got the motivation Drogo needed. It was the attempt on his moon of his life's life. But mainly,
as well as the kill.
The significant bits that I took out were rape their women, take their children as slaves, and bring their broken gods back to Vestolthrak.
Right.
So
he wants to conquer the fuck
I mean,
out of them.
the raping of women, cool. I guess we're just all right with that.
Yeah, that's apparently okay now.
Children slaves, sweet. We know Dany has no issue with slaves whatsoever.
Yeah.
And bring their stolen, broken gods back to Vestolthrak, again, to me, is just another call to the Ozymandias of these
Fallen
things
idols.
that these people believe they built. I mean, look at, and this connection has obviously been made a ton of times, but Heron is a good Black Heron who built Harrenhal.
Right.
And Harrenhal is a Ozymandias very much so incarnate in Westeros of look upon my works ye mighty in despair, and then Aegon fucking came and melted that shit.
Just was like,
the day it was completed. Like,
the day is finished.
Fuck you. So yeah, we just Dany is sort of blind to this. She wants what she wants, and she's not really thinking inwardly. But it says that the Khalasar left Vestolthrak 2 days later, heading south and west across the plains. Drogo leading on his great red stallion, and Dany beside him on her silver. The wine seller, naked, on foot, chained at throat and wrists, which ran to the halter of Dany's silver. As she rode, he ran, barefoot and stumbling. No harm would come to him, so long as he kept up.
So she's going to torture this man to death.
Absolutely. And
Which
then
is...
drag him for a couple miles until slowly he just starts to take enough cuts and shit to bleed out, or maybe hit a rock hard enough to black out. I don't know.
Right.
It's shitty.
Word. So I know you were very excited about this whole chapter. What did I can't even ask you what you thought of it, because clearly it was an excellent, outstanding chapter that we both enjoyed very much. With that, who's your inductee?
George R.R. Martin.
That's okay. I actually was thinking you might go with him.
Yeah, Dany is not by any stretch of the imagination my favorite character, but god damn if I don't enjoy these chapters because of stuff like this. And maybe I am just fucking stretching and I came up with something and pulled it out of my ass, but it all seems to fit to me in such a good way that even if it was unintentional, it works. It's this hubris. That's what Dany's story is going to become. I want to make a monument. I want to make something lasting. Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair, you lords of Westeros who stole my father's throne. Look at what I've done. And it's not going
to end there. That's it.
And that's it. It never ends there.
She's fine here. She's the queen of these people. The way that he's reacting towards the death threat on her life, Drogo, like, she could live here happily, rule these people.
She's literally living in the place where those things don't last. Like,
she's gonna prove that about the Mother of Mountains.
They're all brought here. They're like, these broken gods are brought here. These things don't last. And Drogo even says he's gonna drag back their broken gods as well. Like, it's just gonna happen.
And it's thinking about it further. Eventually, she's returning to Vestolthrak because she's supposed to be with the Dutch Colleen.
Yeah,
and she's not gonna allow that to happen. And so, Mother Mountain is this idol, this empire, this relic.
Well, we don't know how that goes quite yet. That's show stuff, because we don't even know.
It would also be fitting for her in this
trajectory. I don't think she's going to destroy anything. I think it's just she's going to win them over, and I think it's going to be much different than it was portrayed in the show.
Yeah.
Cool. I just think it has to be. I didn't really like the way all of a sudden she shows up there. She's there like 2 days, and then she kills all the Khal leaders, and they're all like, I get. Never mind. That's a show shit. Yeah, your inductee. Mine is George R.R. Martin for that fucking chapter.
I'm going to go with Khal, I think is the one that got the whip and tripped out the merchant wine seller. Drogo. Yeah, so it's going to go to that Blood Rider specifically for being the badass, because he doesn't have the ulterior motives like Jorah did. He was just trying to protect his queen.
Yeah.
She was buying him some sausages. Like, he's having a great fucking day. Yo, you're trying to kill my lady? Yo, you mother... And he fucked that dude up. Or at least stopped him. And so that was... I'm going to get him in
the
there.
Blood Riders are legit. They were... Because they were all, like, coming up behind Jorah, too.
They're like, what up, guy?
He was ready
what
to
up?
fuck that mindset up.
Try and run.
So
see
I like
what
that.
happens.
We did also get correspondence from Julian, as we read his email at the front, and he said in an inductee for this Dany chapter, he says, I must confess, I ain't a big fan of Dany chapters, because I have never been a fan of Dany. I have never been a Dany fan throughout the show.
That's all right.
It was always made so that she's the heroine that rises from rape, exile, and hatred to leadership and freeing oppressed people. Yet I've always felt like she was oppressing in her own way. Authoritarian and overly confident, thinking very, very highly of herself. God, I dislike pretentious people, so she kind of fell into that case of mine. And then she turned Mad Queen, as I had predicted. I still feel it happened a bit fast in the series, even if it made perfect sense. Anyway, I loved the chapter where that cunt Viserys gets his crown. Such a satisfying moment. This one, meh. Naive Dany versus smart advisors, even though he's a traitor. Mwahaha.
He's not done yet.
No, he says, still, I'm going to give my inductee to Drogo.
Fuck yeah.
For hunting that mythical lion, getting only a scratch, and for being the first Khal to grow balls toward the poison sea. Ah, the things we do for love. Enjoy the recordings. Can't wait to listen to the next one. Valor de Harris.
Hell yeah. Valar Morghulis. So a few words on that. I whether you had intentionally... I don't know, been listening to our thoughts as we're thinking them and lined that up with how it lined out there. But we definitely agree with a lot of that stuff. I forget what I was the last part on the...
Yeah, the authoritarian?
No, right after that with Drogo. And because I was going to induct Drogo.
Oh, yeah.
And just because he was a badass. And so what I was going to say is that I understand the not necessarily enjoying this chapter. Because my first read through and even my other rereads, this one was kind of just cut and run for me. I mean, it was definitely cool to see the merchant wine stuff, but until this whole, seeing the extra depth in the lion, it was a fairly dry episode and chapter. So we absolutely understand that part.
Definitely.
Hopefully our breakdown here helped inspire it a little more for you.
Yeah, maybe threw a little more.
But thank you for the inductee.
Yeah, Julian, I really like the way you put as well. The things we do for love, because that's absolutely a theme throughout all of them. You're right. Drogo is somebody attacked the moon of his life and his son, and so now he's gonna give his son.
Which is again just goes to show how heartbreaking it is that she's forcing him to go and do that instead of just settling down here with him.
Instead of just being happy with what she has.
He technically bought her, or made the trade with her. But, he's 100% committed and devoted to her.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to test fate with going across that fucking scary-ass black poison water.
Yeah.
No Khal has ever done that before.
And so obviously this came out way, way before, but with the obvious Ozymandias references, Breaking Bad really popularized it, and I really liked comparing Dany to Walter White in this.
Yeah.
And mainly with the line that she says where that might be enough for some women, but not for the dragon, because that's exactly what Walt's thing was he gets these millions of dollars. Spoilers for Breaking Bad, I guess, but
full spoiler.
He gets these millions of dollars, and it's not enough. He needs more, and that's what Dany's gonna get. You know, she's gonna get maybe the Iron Throne, but it's not gonna be enough.
She's gonna want more.
I hope that I didn't come across as stupid as I could be with that. I don't think it was out of left field. I think I did some pretty thorough research and came up with that, and I've been super excited to lay it down. Those were our thoughts.
Yeah. So write into us. Let us know what you think about Dany 6 or Ozymandias or how they relate to each other. Whatever. Where you can be
next episode, we're going to be reading Catelyn 8. You can write us about that as well.
I am thrilled to announce to you loyal fans that have been just giving me hell for quite some time. I figured out the Instagram handle and got it switched to match my Twitter handle.
Shit.
So you can reach me at Twitter at MannersWithout. You can also reach us on Instagram at MannersWithout.
One step easier.
You can reach Zach on Twitter at Carstark92. That's Carstark, Carr. Stark92. We're on our email is withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/brotherhood podcast. I'm still working on figuring that one out. Don't rush me, man. I do things in my own time, all right?
All right.
And we're also on Patreon, patreon.com/withoutmanners.
You're a Dothraki.
Right. There you go. Cool. So let us know what your thoughts are. We love hearing from you. I'm going to go drink some Gatorade.
Yeah, man, Ozymandias. Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair.
Fella de Harris.
Peace.
Hey, Zach.
Hey,
You listening to a podcast right now?
I will be.
Are you going to be doing it on your favorite app?
Well, I have a couple of them. Which one?
Well, the one I'm talking about is Podcoin, where you can listen and earn great rewards.
I'm pretty sure we have a code for that one.
We do. If you are a new user of Podcoin, you can type in Brotherhood and get 300 coins to spend on fucking cool stuff.
Sweet, like giving to charity or gift cards.
Yeah, gift cards to like
Dope.
Starbucks and Amazon and all sorts of other places.
So if you're hearing this, why haven't you already downloaded Podcoin and
started
entered
listening
Brotherhood
to us, listen to us there.
and earn some coins? Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.